We're going through 15 scents that are truly in the Fragrance Hall of Fame. For those of you who are just getting into your fragrance journey, this is a good starting point to experience the fragrances that influence the industry the most, and for you to experience as many styles as possible. And if you're more experienced in the fragrance niche, then this will be a fun game to see how many of these 15 you have already tried. We're gonna start off with massive versatility. Bleu De Chanel from 2010. You have to try Bleu De Chanel. It is what launched the blue genre in fragrances. Blue generally means a very balanced fragrance that makes you smell like you're fresh out of the shower. It's extremely mass appealing, easy and versatile to wear. They usually contain citrus notes with woody molecules and usually some sort of lavender to make it all aromatic and fresh. And then it's balanced against darker notes such as amber or things like incense in Bleu De Chanel, for example. Our own fragrance release is going to be a blue fragrance also. It's inspired by that anyways, it's built on that. And this is just a genre that works really well, and Chanel were influential in starting it all off. You can try any of the concentrations, it still smells high quality and timeless to this day. But before blue fragrances ruled it all, there was Hugo Boss Bottled. I'm referring more to the original, which I do think you should try. Try the Eau de Toilette of Hugo Boss Bottled. That fragrance just took the world by storm also, probably in the 2000s decade. It smelled essentially like a very fresh, aromatic apple pie. So before guys smelled like they're fresh out of the shower, they smelled like they were a tasty apple pie. And it's a very sexy fragrance. It doesn't sound like it should be, but it very much is. The Intense that I'm holding here is now discontinued, but it was a great way that, for them to have modernized the scent and made it more longer lasting. I still love this scent DNA. I think it's still very handsome and extremely safe, probably even more safe than blue fragrances, which is very difficult to achieve. If you want to replace that apple pie vibe from Hugo Boss, you must try Parfum de Marly's Layton. In the community, everyone knows this is one of the best first niche fragrances for someone to buy. It is an extremely safe, but extremely high quality, yet extremely unique oriental fragrance that has that apple note with a lot of cardamom, a lot of some powdery freshness in there, a good amount of vanilla. It lasts 14 hours. This is the fragrance you buy and you're extremely happy with the price tag that you're paying for it, because it does smell like it's a £200 fragrance. It gets you a lot of compliments and it really just introduces your nose to this world of niche fragrances and how men can really smell different. You don't have to smell like the average Joe in a designer department store. Speaking of your average Joe in a department store, everyone needs to try the original Paco Rabanne 1 million. This of course ruled the clubs back maybe 10 years ago, but it's still an extremely popular fragrance. And it's iconic because it introduced us to this style of bubblegum perfumery, which generally means very heavy fruity notes mixed with some sort of ambery dry down as well. It's very fun, playful, highly synthetic, and overused in my opinion. It's still a good performer, it's still sexy, it'll most likely still get you compliments. I like to wear it more as a relic rather than something I would put on day to day. Sticking to the clubbing theme, you must try Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male. It's now gutted. It used to be a clubbing fragrance. The performance isn't good enough for that anymore. It is now a date night fragrance in my opinion. That's its optimal use. However, it is iconic because it was one of the first fragrances on the market that took fragrances for men were generally more serious back in the 90s, and this came along and showed that in the mainstream, fragrances for men could be a lot more playful. That changed the style for men forever, essentially. And this basically just ruled the clubs again in the 90s and the 2000s. It is extremely sexy, a balanced DNA that is still overall sweet, containing mint, lavender and vanilla. Those are the three main ingredients. If you want to see how the serious barbershop style of men's fragrances can be taken into a more playful, sweet, powdery style, then definitely you need to smell Le Male, and then it also produces all these flankers that we have these days. If you're a beginner, you've probably already tried this. Davidoff's Cool Water. It's kind of ironic. They basically stole Creed's Green Irish Tweed DNA, which is a combination of green notes with soapy notes, making it smell very clean, fresh and musky, and added aquatic qualities to this as well. So it's a mixture of green and blue notes. And it became essentially the most world-dominating fragrance for men since the 80s. Basically, everyone and their dad has worn this fragrance. It's very cheap and it still smells very high quality for the price you are paying. I appreciate this has been reformulated many times, but even still to this day, it's a recognizable scent DNA. You need to try. It can still be an easy, cheap, dumb reach signature fragrance, in my opinion. Sticking to the aquatic theme, you must try Giorgio Armani's Acqua di Gio. Apparently one of the best-selling men's fragrances of all time. This obviously just took over the world also. Any of the flankers you need to try, really, as long as it's sort of reminiscent of the original DNA. Several of the flankers are like that, so usually you can try Profundo or Profumo, or even the new Eau de Parfum. It is just a very classic, smooth, citrus, aquatic fragrance that skyrocketed Alberto Morillas's reputation. It's just very safe, easy to wear, and it's just something very handsome about smelling aquatic and fresh. It's just what men generally like more. They like to smell like this more than the sweet scent profiles. Let's go to less conventional styles. You must try Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. I remember when this fragrance came out in 2018 and they were advertising it everywhere in the airports, and when I first tried this, I was a little bit shocked by how different a man and woman can smell. I didn't realize fragrances can be recreated in this way, that they're just very realistic and smell exactly like the interior of a leather car. If you literally just want to smell like leather and just experience very creative perfumery, you go for this. It's a little bit challenging, but still beginner friendly enough for someone who wants to get into leather scents. Let's just keep going with Tom Ford. You must try Oud Wood, the beginner oud fragrance. It doesn't have real oud, but again, it introduces you into that style of a really sexy DNA. I think it's still Tom Ford's most popular fragrance. It smells like a sharp, masculine forest that dries down to a musky vanilla later on. It's intricate, but still well balanced. It's a beautiful signature. It has been reformulated. The performance isn't as good as it used to be. However, I've read that Thamine's carved oud is a longer lasting alternative you may want to check out. You must try Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Again, also iconic for the brand. Introduces you into very creative orientals out there. The name pretty much says it all, tobacco and vanilla. It also has this sort of chocolatey gourmand scent profile to it as well. It lasts forever, and it just smells to me like the most perfect special occasion sort of fragrance. This is the fragrance when people get more serious into fragrances, they really want something that's really stands out for those big moments, then this is one of the first fragrances you should try. One of my most complimented, the original Armani Code. I wore this for years, and this showed how you do a balanced, spicy DNA for men. It's balanced in the way that has aromatic notes like citruses, and star anise is the iconic spice in here, and then it has more intense notes like leather and tonka bean. It is very beautiful, dark, elegant, mature, and handsome. And as I said, it's got me a lot of compliments. It's also reformulated. However, the flankers that this produced and the way this influenced the industry will not be forgotten. Try out Armani Code's Profumo if you want a date night fragrance, Absolute if you want a louder signature vanilla fragrance, and the new Eau de Parfum, which recreates the original's DNA with better performance. And I think Armani Code may have influenced YSL's L'Homme, which influenced this fragrance, YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme, which is date night fragrance perfection. Again, balanced, spicy DNA for men. However, this is becoming more romantic now, with more focus on this warm cardamom note, which is just perfectly used here. This is an iconic fragrance that makes people go crazy for it. If a fragrance makes people hunt for specific batches, that's how you know you have a very loyal fan following to it. It's, again, so it's not the best performing fragrance, but I think everyone needs to try this. It's just so beautiful. It's just very creative, perfectly balanced perfumery. I still love to this day. Get the Blue Electric flanker, like I always say, if you can get it. This next fragrance showed that men can wear florals and be creative with their presentation. The original Dior Homme, made in 2005, I don't think any other brand was thinking of using iris, which is generally going to smell quite feminine, powdery, like lipstick. And they've made it into a men's fragrance, injecting with a lot of woodiness in here. This is very long lasting, it's extremely handsome, sexy, very elegant. This inspired loads of fragrances such as Valentino's Uomo, the Dior Homme Intense flanker of this, which is also a masterpiece, and other fragrances like Prada L'Homme Intense. It showed that iris can work in men's fragrances, and it's still timeless to this day. It's a masterpiece. Definitely need to try it. The original, not 2020. Speaking of masterpieces, Terre D'Hermes. Try out the Eau de Toilette first. The entire Terre D'Hermes line is amazing. However, the Eau de Toilette is what introduces you into something that is a masterpiece that has been struggled to be recreated to this day. It is complex perfumery that will challenge your nose. I initially didn't like this fragrance when I first smelled it. The opening is challenging. It smells like a very dirty orange that mixes with earthy vetiver and is very different, but at the same time it's clean and professional and just changes in this dry down a lot. If you want to experience true, beautiful vetiver-based perfumery, you go for Terre D'Hermes. It is a 10 out of 10, absolutely, in my book, since 2006, and it's also a perfect mature man signature. And finally, you have to try Creed Aventus. It has a magical DNA. As you can see, I don't own a bottle myself, so it's questionable as to whether or not you should pay full price for it. However, it cannot be argued. It has inspired so many clones like Explorer, Club de Nuit, or even fragrances like Nishane Hashivat was definitely inspired by it. This is, again, a hardcore fan following sort of fragrance. I still think it's a masterpiece, and you may actually want to buy a full bottle, so definitely try it from the Creed boutique and see what you think. Thank you for watching this video, guys. What did you think of this idea? How many of these 15 fragrances have you already tried? Would you like to see a part 2 of more iconic fragrances? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.